and welcome back to Rue's Life. And first of all, a very happy new year to you all. It's the 14th of January and it's time for my January plot tour, the first one of the year. And I'm really looking forward to the growing season ahead and watching these beds transform from bare soil and earth into beautiful flourishing vegetables and flowers, and I just can't wait. I love this time of year. It's full of hope. So it's really cold here at the moment. We've had a really heavy ground frost, but I'm going to show you around because I've got a few little bits going on. So we'll start here in the shed because I've got a lovely calendar that I'd like to show you that was a gift for Christmas, and then we'll get out onto the plot and then into the polytunnel. So just while we're here in the shed, I wanted to start by showing you this absolutely beautiful calendar that I've been given for Christmas by my lovely niece and her husband, and I absolutely love it. And I'm hoping that this is going to be a useful tool. It's not got a huge amount of space on it, but I can just jot down dates that I've sown things, and it'll be a useful tool to look back if I pop down what I've sown and what varieties. And then as they progress and I look back at the year, I can see what varieties I've grown, and then I'll know how successful they have or haven't been, and that will be useful going into the following growing year. And I'll start with good intentions. It may not happen, but if nothing else, it really does look pretty. So when I come in to have a cup of tea, I can have a little look at my calendar. So let's get outside and look at this plot. So I'm just standing out in the shed doorway, and we'll just start here. So I've got my table and chairs here, and I've also moved the bird feeder across. So this bird feeder used to be between the house and the chicken area, but because of the risk of avian flu we've got at the moment, I thought I'd move it across to the plot, so I'm not encouraging the wild birds to be too close to the chickens, so we're encouraging them to be across here. I didn't want to stop feeding the birds. And it's been really successful. I do need to put a little bit more food into that, but they found it and they're using it, which is great. But my plans here are just where the table and chairs are, and a lot of molehills at the moment. I want to put some kind of decking or patio area. And then the new flower bed that I'm going to create is going to be in this space here. So keep watching. That's something I'm going to be doing over the coming months, and I want it to be ready for planting into in the spring, and I'm really looking forward. I've got loads of lovely flower seeds, and I'm really looking forward to developing that bed. So let's go across to the other beds. So here we've got the rudbeckia, which my sister gave to me, and the plan is to split those now from that pot and get them into that flower bed when it's been prepared, or simply into more pots, but I'm going to split those to create more plants. I absolutely love them. They're so cheerful and so pretty. And then next to that we've got some leek here, which I think I may have mentioned in one of my last videos I was going to pull and use. Just haven't got round to it, but they're doing fine in that pot. I've still got a lot of potatoes left over. They're actually parboiled and in the freezer, so I can make some lovely leek and potato soups with those. The squash frame did take a bit of a battering in the two storms that we had, but you can see the bulk of the frame has actually held, and the main frame itself has been built, and I'll pop a link above to that video. I made that by cutting those sticks from the hedge, and they're actually from a hazel tree, and I think part of the reason that the frame did survive is because it's built of something that's a bit more flexible, so it had a bit more give in it. And actually the bits that have come unstuck are more of the, you can see there's some bamboo canes, and I'll just move you around. So these sort of crisscrosses I had all the way along, and they're the bits that have come down. A combination, I think, of the string starting to rot and therefore not holding, but also those canes don't have as much flexibility or give. But all in all, I'm really pleased with how that frame has held up, particularly to those horrendous storms that we had, but also how well the squash grew up it. And I will definitely be using that again this year. And you can see that what I've actually done, these are the old squash plants, I've just cut them and let them drop, and I'm just going to leave them there and mulch them down. So let's move along and look at the other beds. So starting here with bed number 1, which I've completely cleared now, and that's ready for spring planting, and the only thing left just in this corner are some chives. Bed number 2, that's got my overwintering onions. I've got 2 varieties in there. I have radar and electric. I've actually managed to cram, I think there's about 200 onions in that bed. They are closer than advised, but I've done it with them before. I don't have the biggest beds or the vast amount of growing space, so I do tend to cram them in a little, but it's been successful in the past. And then the only other thing in that bed is just here, and that is actually my celery, which I know traditionally doesn't like the cold, but this is the second time I've successfully overwintered it, and it's just, you know, you can still come out and snip bits off it to pop into casseroles and soups, and it did come back really well last spring. Not this particular plant. I sowed some from seed, had them for a season, overwintered them into the spring, and they did really well, and was still eating it before the next batch of seeds were established enough and mature plants. And then finally bed 3, which is the Brassica Bed. That's all been cleared now, and the only thing left in there are the remains of my delicious Brussels sprouts that I am so proud of. And the variety was Groninger. I did have 6 plants. We've eaten down 2 of them, and there's still 4 plants, as you can see, heavily laden with sprouts. Absolutely thrilled with those. They've done really well. Definitely be growing that variety again. So let's move down now to bed number 5, because these beds are bed 1, bed 2, bed 3. The squash bed is bed 4, and this fruit bed at the end there is 5. The new flower bed will then become bed number 6. They're named 1 to 5 at the moment and will be 6, simply in the order that I created them, and it just reminds me, you know, I know what I'm talking about then when I'm planning. So let's go down and have a look at that fruit bed. So what I forgot to mention as well just is that you can see, even though it's well into the afternoon now, it's about 3:30, 4 o'clock, we have still got a decent amount of frost covering the ground from this morning, and it'll not really be cleared now before the next frost comes down, and we've had it into about -4, -5 here overnight, so it is cool, but the temperatures are popping up during the daytime. When we get into the Polytunnel, I'll have a little look and see what the temperatures are at the moment. But it's been averaging, as I say, down to about -4 at night, and we've been up to about 9-10 degrees in the Polytunnel during the daytime, but cooler outside. So this bed here, you can see here are my raspberry canes. They are an autumn fruiting variety. They were given to me by my sister, and they were new to me last season. So I got them sort of summertime, popped them in. Didn't expect obviously any fruit from them in the autumn that's just gone, but they will hopefully be producing fruits for us in the coming autumn. And because they were new plants, that's why I haven't actually chopped them. So often you will traditionally chop your raspberries down to the ground once they've finished fruiting, but because they were new plants, I didn't do that with them this year. I will do it after they've fruited in the autumn. And the rest of the bed is the remainder of the strawberries, which were really successful, and so yeah, it's the strawberries there, and then we've got the raspberries here. And then if we just turn around, I'll do it nice and gently so I don't make you too seasick. We're just standing next to the rhubarb bed. Now normally I put a really good dollop of well rotted horse manure onto this bed, but I just didn't get round to it this year. But hopefully that rhubarb will be sitting quietly under the surface, ready to burst. I have seen some posts from some of you who have social media where your rhubarb is already starting to show, but we are a little bit higher up here and it is a little bit colder, so I'm not expecting anything from that yet. And let's get into the polytunnel and I'll show you what's going on in there. So here we are in the polytunnel, and it is 3.5 degrees outside at the moment, but it's actually 5 degrees in here. So it is always just, you know, between 1 and 3 degrees warmer in here, than it is outside through the cooler months. In the summer months it does get a lot, there's a bigger difference between the outside and the inside temperature in here. So it's not warm in here, but there are a few degrees difference, and it does make a difference to what I've got in here. It's also kind of protected from although we get the cold temperature, you're not getting that frost actually coming down on things. If I do start seedlings or anything off in here earlier on in the season, if I want to keep them a little bit warmer, then I'll put them in my little plastic propagators. They're not heated, but just by having that extra protection, it makes all the difference. So let's have a look around and I'll show you what's going on. So here on the staging, these are just some pots, which the majority of them are just needing emptying or composting, but the surviving 3 things here are these 3 cranesbill plants, which one of my sisters gave to me, and they'll be going into that flower bed once I've got it created. We have got my geranium, and one of them's still got a little flower on it, in the hanging baskets. There's some over there and some over here. Now I brought them in from the outside, and there's also some in that tub over there, which I'll show you a little bit closer in a moment. My plan was to actually fleece these because just bringing into the polytunnel may not be enough. They've already been subject to the cold temperatures now and the minus figures, so they may or may not survive. They've got a better chance in here. I just wish I'd popped those fleeces on, but unfortunately the last couple of months I've just had too much going on, and I've taken my eye off the ball a little bit with the plot. But that's just the way it goes sometimes. Worst case scenario, I'm going to lose those geraniums and have to start again, but with a bit of luck they might just survive. So let's see what else is going on here. So here we've got some more geranium there, and this tub is the one that actually goes onto the little window box on the side of the shed. Here I've got some purple sprouting broccoli that could do with getting into the ground, but I will wait until we get a little bit more manageable weather. Failing that, I'll either put them into a bigger pot or I'll pop them into a bed in here to grow them on until they're ready to go outside. And then here are my latest seedlings of cauliflower all the year round, which do need potting on. And then this is also grown from seed, a cauliflower all the year round, but obviously was started a lot sooner than those ones. In the little bed here, I had the basil in that this year. That is empty. The long bed here, at this end I've got some carrot seedlings. These are turnip, and at the far end I've got some chard and some spinach. They're all a little bit behind because I did sow them all a bit later than I anticipated. I would normally have started them earlier off in the autumn, but it was tail end of autumn when I actually got those seeds in. But they're sitting there nicely, and as we get a little bit more sunshine and things, we get the sun on the polytunnel, they're going to develop quite nicely through ready into the spring. And I'll have a nice early harvest of carrots, turnips, and then the spinach and chard I'll just be a little bit more ahead of the game. In the bed at the bottom there, I've got some leek seedlings, and then I've got onions on the other side. They're the Red Baron. There's 2 of them yomping away, but there are more just sitting under the surface. Got a few pots here. The bulk of them are empty. This one here just has a few little leek seedlings in it, which I need to move. And then the rest of the beds and pots are empty, and there's some canes and bits and bobs that I've just brought in to stop them blowing around. So not a huge amount going on in here, but a few bits growing. So I hope you've enjoyed my January tour. As you can see, there are quite a lot of bits and bobs going on, but some of the beds are empty and just sitting quietly now, waiting for spring. Now I have had some new filming equipment. I've got a wireless microphone now, so I'm really hoping that that's going to improve my sound quality. It's quite a journey being a YouTuber. Started out with just my phone, and I've developed to having a camera, and I've either been using just the microphone that is with the camera built in. I do also have another microphone, but it's on a long wire, and the amount of times I've tripped over it or nearly pulled the tripod over. So I'm hoping that my lovely Christmas present of my new wireless microphone is going to make a difference. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if you think it has. One of the big things, I think it should cut down on the background noise. So fingers crossed. So I'd also love to hear from you all. How are you getting on? Did you get any gardening gifts for Christmas? Have you started ordering your seeds yet? Have you got anything growing in your polytunnels or even outside or in your greenhouses? Have you got seeds on your windowsills yet? I know a few people have started their chilies. So do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you all, how you are and how you're getting on. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're new to my channel, then please do consider subscribing and hit that bell to get notifications of all my latest videos. But for now, take care, and I'll see you all again soon.